and we're real glad to be back with you on the program. Good morning, my name is Jumoke Michaels. Banji, good morning.
Jumoke, good morning.
Good morning.
Quite a few days, I must admit, but we thank God for the gift of life and the opportunity to be here. My name is Banji Busari. This is Summit.
Yeah, a lot is happening in the polity, and we'll be looking at them, some issues one after the other on the program today. We're going to be starting with the issue of insecurity, talking about the de-radicalization of insurgents. The issue came up over the weekend in Gombe State, and 601 of
601,
them,
yes.
Again, to be reintegrated into the society. So we're going to start with that discussion today. Other issues of a crisis in southern Kaduna, the issue of the NDDC probe. Should the president, should the agency be reverted to presidency, as some of the issues we'll be looking at this morning. And we have with us here in the studio Mr. Jide Ologun. He's an attorney at law and also a public affairs analyst and our dear friend. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you.
I'll hold on to the last one. He's our friend.
Our friend.
He's really our friend. It's our pleasure to have you again.
Thank you.
Well, let me take it from where Jumoke actually started from, really, the de-radicalization of the insurgents. To many Nigerians, it seems a bit curious that though some people have argued that the stick and carrot method may actually help us to win the war against the insurgents. But would you have ever thought that to get to the extent of actually reabsorbing the insurgent, the one-time insurgents, the Boko Harams, into maybe the Nigerian army, and then reintegrating them to the security outfit of the government? Just as Jumoke said, 601. The government is saying the Nigerian army is also celebrating that. It shows they are winning the war. But some people think differently. What do you see to it?
De-radicalization means the person has been radicalized. So I want us to go into content analysis. How did they get to the point of being de-radicalized? I recall at a time in this country, we were reading about 4 containers of tramadol imported into the country, seized by customs, and they disappeared into the thin air. And some of us were asking, where will these drugs end up? So you are talking of human beings who have become drug addicts, human beings who have killed its cause, who are bloodthirsty, and you have de-radicalized them. Congratulations. Now, let's talk about that post-de-radicalization. Now, when you de-radicalize, the mind of this person should be engaged. The heart and hands of this person should be engaged. In a country that is the capital of poverty, in a country that has over 25% unemployment rate, so how do you engage them to keep them sane within the context of societal relationships? So for me, and that is why it's difficult to believe all these things. The guns are there, the bandits are there. There was a report at a time which was denied, but I refuse to let it go like that. That Boko Haram was paying more than the government, that the government was paying to soldiers. You see, so the terrorists are operating within a highly organized structure that they will offer better tokens to these de-radicalized boys than what the government is able to offer. And that is just the reality. What started as Boko Haram, which is a war against Western education, grew up to become Islamic States of West Africa. And when Chief Olusegun Obasanjo was alleging Fulanization, they said the man should keep his mouth shut. Now, even the ISIS of the world, the big terrorist organization of the world, are interested because they are to invest in destruction. And you open your space for them, they invest. So I congratulate the government for this, and if you incorporate them into the security architecture, it's like asking now that armed robbers who have been convicted, for instance, and released from the prisons are now incorporated into the Federal Inland Revenue Service of the country. I wonder what will happen.
All right, I think some of the exercises that these people are supposed to have been put through include they are taught non-violent interpretations of Islam, they are taught given vocational training, psychological therapy, reintegration programs and training, counseling, among others. Now, all this they did in 6 months, because that's what was said, that they have gone through all this in 6 months, and that they have come to a point where they feel they are ready to be reintegrated into our society. Now, all this done in 6 months, does it really portray people that should go and mix up with those they have traumatized and terrorized?
I just explained that. I mean, when you
are these programs
the
sufficient?
De-radicalization also appears to be a palliative measure. Somebody who has been engaged in violence for about 5 years, you are de-radicalizing him in 6 months. He has taken it as a way of life. Even the COVID-19, we are finding it difficult to adjust to the protocols within the same space of about 4 or 5 or 6 months. You see, and that is why some of us cannot trust the intentions of the government. And we still have all the killings going on. Southern Kaduna, but I have said it.
No, we'll come to Southern Kaduna.
You know, so it's if we want to get serious to solve this problem, if peradventure you find me, and God forbid, constituting a threat to my society, my community, because I don't have a job, if you sit me down to restructure my thinking and everything, you must find me a job. So what job are they going to give them? Are they going to give them part of the 74,000? I mean,
Because of the vocational training they've done, they are going to give them starter packs.
Starter packs of how much? Let's use the Niger Delta.
Okay,
The Niger Delta guys, some of them are brought now as stranded. Government not paying their school fees. You see, to start up in this economy, how much do you need to set up a business now, sir? How much is a reliable generator? A reliable generator for startup business about 250 or 300,000 naira. Dollar is about 400 naira to $1 now. So we are talking of startup business.
Well, there are issues that can actually come out of this. I'm interested in one. How trustworthy, for instance, with these people that have been de-radicalized, how trustworthy are they? Can they actually be trusted with our security? I mean, talking about putting them in the mainstream of our security architecture. People have the opinion, some people think that this leakage of information, sensitive information of our security network, to the terrorists, is probably as a result of this new method of reabsorbing the insurgent into our security. Can you really trust those people?
Nigeria is an interesting country. For me, on the basis of an ideal society, I cannot trust them. I cannot trust them. General Theophilus Danjuma retired said it. That he didn't trust the military. He suspected they were colluded with the terrorists. The Dapchi girls kidnapping, it's just that in Nigeria, several things happen that we forget things that have happened. Army withdrew the troop. Kidnappers came in, took these girls away when they probably got their ransom or whatever, and they wanted to bring some of them back. They withdrew the troop again. How dare you support such level of kidnapping? So many Nigerians are, conscious of what is going on, but probably afraid to say it. I have said it, and I'm talking again to the northern elite. If the situation in the north continues like this for another 10 years, I don't know how many of them will be able to stay in that region. And if they think that they can now make other regions of Nigeria uninhabitable, those regions will rise up to defend themselves.
But don't forget that even the northern elites came up a couple of months ago to condemn the rising insecurity in the region. Of course, they are not also comfortable from there. They met with the president over the spate of attacks and all that.
So in law,
so would they be comfortable and still?
In law, we present evidences. You bring your witnesses. in this country, I present the evidence of Bado boys in southwestern region of Nigeria. At the time, Bado was reigning. Where is Bado today? You have to live with what you tolerate. So it's up to them. I'm not a Northerner, I'm a Nigerian. By the grace of God, I've been to almost every part of this country. I've been to Mbise, I've been to Abia, I've been to Maiduguri, I've been to Sokoto, Argungu, Augi. I've gone around Nigeria, but I love every part of this country. I've stayed in almost every part of this country. You see, but if you think violence is a way of life, best wishes. Some of us were complaining, but it was like, what is the matter with this young man? When a governor was threatening body bags, and you are talking about being a role model to younger ones, if we embrace violence as a way of life, so be it. I ask this question: all the tramadors imported to this country, who imported them? Did they fall from the air? Who used this tramadol? All the ammunition that came into country, the president complained at the time of proliferation of ammunition. All the Gaddafi rebels that the president said were responsible for violence in Nigeria. At the time we opened our borders for foreigners to come in, when they came in, we started to register them, e-registration. All these things are on record. And recently, the Chief of Army Staff brilliantly, and I commend him, told us that 100% of kidnappers are Nigerians. Fine, by record, perhaps
not just kidnappers, the insurgents.
The insurgents
are Nigerians.
When strangers came in and you register them, they become Nigerians. When other countries are shutting their borders to violence, you see, so it's either a group of people has an agenda that is different from developmental agenda.
But you see, not begging a question, whether they are 99 or 98 or 27, should it be tolerated? Is that, are we saying the military is incapable of taking care of the security of this country?
I think the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces will answer that question. If under the watch of my president, Nigeria is in this state of insecurity, then we need to find out what the security vision is, because the Chief of Army Staff told us he is fulfilling the vision of the president. If bloodshed, wanton killings, poverty, economic woes constitute a capsule of vision elements, so be it. The Afenifere asks for the service chiefs to be replaced. The Ohanese asks for the service chiefs to be replaced. The Northern Elders Forum asks for the same thing. Christians, Muslims, National Assembly, and the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, or, excuse me, the presidency saying no, that they are doing well. So if you have several...
No, don't forget, at the point he also said, for the first time anyway, just 2 months ago, that he was displeased with the quality of service.
Last week, last week the senator said he should be fired.
Thank you for that comment, sir. I was going to say that if you have 7 vehicles left out of 12 vehicles, that means the former driver crashed about 5 of the 12 vehicles, and you now employ a new driver that crashed the remaining 7 vehicles to 1. You now have 1 left, and you are saying, I'm still considering whether to retain this person or not to. I don't know the kind of vision you have. You see, I think as a leader, as leaders, we should go and study the meaning of development. Development! When did Singapore gain independence? I mean, so, but then, like I said, he who sow the wind will reap the whirlwind. I feel for them in the northern part of the country, and I pray for them always, that maybe a group of people will rise up and appreciate the meaning of peace. Peace has eluded that region. And you see, no. And we're not even paying attention to developing human capacity. Where are we going? So whether you are de-radicalizing or anything, but one thing I know is that at the appropriate time and by the mercies of God, the narrative will change. I am tired of the bloodshed in Nigeria, this consistent destruction.
This issue actually came up because some time ago, also in Katsina State, Governor Aminu Masari actually succeeded in getting the bandits, the kidnappers to lay down their arms, and it was a ceremony that he has succeeded in winning them back. But not later than that, just a couple of months later. The cases of banditry, kidnapping, rose, very, very high. And he said he regretted his earlier action. So if you look at it against the background of this radicalization, would you say the government is doing the right path?
That's an evidence. And you see, in the Western region, we like proverbs. And I beg the elders to roll out this. They say if somebody wants to give you a dress, you look at his own dress.
And even sometime in Katsina State, Governor Nasir El-Rufai said he had to pay some of the criminals. We'll come to that. They look at it together holistically.
So you have to look at the dress of the person giving you a dress. I am disturbed to my marrows if the state of my president is almost inhabitable by virtue of banditry and there are no solutions. So it's either someone is comfortable with that state or not. And you just brilliantly mentioned de-radicalization, negotiating with bandits. So bandits appear to be in charge. No, that is a serious shame to our security architecture. And I have said it, if you look at the service chiefs, except for the Chief of Defense Staff, Oloni Shakin, and Ibaz, who is the Chief of Naval Staff, the others are Northerners. And so why should Northern State be in that state of insecurity? And I have said it, and if a group of people think that this thing will spread to every part of the country, I leave the other regions to open their space for them. And that's why when Amotekun rose up, it became an issue. So what exactly is going on? Is the allegation of General Theophilus Danjuma retired that there is an attempt at ethnic cleansing? Because right now in Kaduna, people are being killed, chased away from their communities and everything. Who are the ones occupying this region? And I'm asking a question. It is anti-developmental to want to take over territories through violence, because by the time you sow the seed of violent human beings on that land, even you yourself cannot stay. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, before we leave this issue of de-radicalization, there's an angle that bothers me, and that's the fact that when we keep talking about rehabilitating the terrorists without considering the mindset of the victims, because you're bringing back the faces of the same people that terrorized them, that made life unbearable for them. Do you think that there should have been need for consultation with the people before this issue of throwing back these people in their faces actually comes up?
If there is consideration for the people, Nigeria will not be the way it is. If you look at section 16 of the Nigerian Constitution 1999 as amended, it states clearly the picture of a developed society, care for the people. And if you look at section 14 also, subsection 2 talks about the primary purpose of government, the security and the welfare of the people. So if there is consideration for the people, we won't even get to the point of having to radicalize. So we don't, it's as if our attention is towards violence. How can this country be this insecure and this violent? And some leaders are comfortable with it.
How traumatic could it be for the people themselves?
Some leaders are comfortable with this. It's unacceptable. But I've said it, history is very wonderful. You mentioned Mandela today, he's going to be with his maker. But history has recorded the characteristics of his regime. You mentioned Abacha today in Nigeria, he's there on record. You mentioned Azikiwe, you mentioned Tafawa Balewa, you mentioned Azikiwe. So my prayer for my president is that his own time will engender peace and prosperity in this country. And if that is not the case, we read about it in history. We are all out to support good governance. That's what we stand for. And we will speak out based on what we see. I don't know if anybody is not concerned about the insecurity in the country now. I don't know where that person is from.
All right.
So that's why we have a government. So
all right.
I think it shouldn't be that when you want people to vote for you that you consider them. And to make it worse, you make electoral promises by which you are bound before man and God, and you don't fulfill them. No, it's unacceptable.
All right, let's move on to Kaduna now, where in the past few weeks, or let me say month, there's been a sporadic increase in the killings.
A resurgence.
In the communities there in Kaduna State. And in the midst of that, the president visited Mali on a peace mission. You know, there's been so many reactions from different civic groups, civil rights organizations and all that, that this is also happening in your country and you're going to another country on a peace mission. Now, the governor of Kaduna said it's a reprisal attack going on in southern Kaduna. Let me just ask, what's your reaction to all these scenarios?
It's this same reprisal attack that has brought us to where we are. Like you mentioned, and it's on record by content analysis. There was a time a governor claimed to have gone to pay some people for them to stop killing, and I want to work for it. So that means you have sympathy for them, or you have a collaborative relationship with them. To say, oh, no, take this money, don't kill. When you have a responsibility to protect your people. You see, a governor also, like I said, threatened the foreign observers that if they unduly interfere in the elections, they will go back in body bags. So what do you expect in such a state? So the killings are historical, and my president mentioned it at the time he traveled abroad. The case of whether Boko Haram or whatever is historical. And that is why at the time some people try to dislodge history in this country. But whatever the history is, it's not leading us in the right direction. We should be developing. We have the largest, deposit of proven gas in Africa. We don't have electricity, so we just keep fighting on this. What are they fighting for? If it's not for religion, it's for politics. So what have we benefited from it? I have said it. Our leaders in this country should stand before the mirror and try to imagine how other leaders in other countries look. I'm talking of developed countries now. They will know the kind of pressure they are carrying. They see all these unnecessary drama, fainting at the National Assembly because you cannot account for money that have been entrusted to you, or climbing the tree because you are running from DSS, or being brought to the court in wheelchair. I mean, what kind of a life is that?
Okay,
the killings in Kaduna, when they are tired, rise up to do something about it, but it's either those who should help are themselves bloodthirsty or blood condoning. Because do you know what it takes to produce a human being?
All right. Now, a lot of people have come up with several theories about what's going happening in the southern Kaduna. Some people say it's an agenda to annihilate all the Christians because that is a part of the state that's heavily populated by Christians. And just as you say, it's historical, Zango Kataf and all that. Now, if it's an agenda to annihilate, to wipe out in particular, I believe the government's first responsibility is security. Should this be allowed to go on? Just a couple of weeks ago, the spokesperson to President Mobutu said people should learn to forgive one another. That some people have refused to forgive other people. So if they don't want to forgive, should government also fold its arm and allow them to take laws into their hands?
Okay, there are three issues here now. At the time Jesus asked his disciples, who do people say I am? And some say you are Elijah, some say you are John. And he now asked them, you my disciples, who do you say I am? And Peter said, you are Christ, the Messiah. And he said, flesh and blood has not revealed it to you, but my Father. And that upon this rock I will build my church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it. So nobody can annihilate the church of God. All forces in the world put together cannot stop the church from growing. So I'm speaking as a Christian. So anyone rising against the church is just embarking on a futile drama. And probably they should learn about Nebuchadnezzar, about Pharaoh and things like that. I won't say more than that. And I don't think Islam is an intolerant religion. I have friends, Muslims. We grew up together. I said it when I traveled to South Koto State.
You have what here?
Yes. When I traveled to South Koto State, sir, I stayed beside the Argungu fishing river. Alhaji Augi Arugungu gave me a whole bungalow, furnished, to enjoy my holiday. I've been around. Immediately after my law school, I had my holiday in Impise. I ate the big mango, I rode bicycle to the river, I rejoiced with the people. I've been to Arochukwu, Abia State. We've been around Oka. I can go on and on. So it's not for religion. It's just wickedness. If anybody is I mean, we don't know what bloodshed is about. God is angry with it. And let me advise here. If you study the word of God, I've done a bit of it by the grace of God. Those who shed blood and love bloodshedding are bringing curses upon their generation, because the Bible says they will never lack people who will lean on stick and be beggars. We need to repent. For any reason, what you are supposed to do is to unite the people, bring prosperity. Is it not Islam that is practiced in the UAE? Sir, is Dubai a Christian region? Is Saudi Arabia a Christian society? Is there no prosperity there? I think some leaders are just operating in ignorance. And John 8:32 says that ye shall know the truth and the truth will make you free. So they need to wake up. They cannot throw Nigeria into we love each other. We grew up attending schools closest to your father's house, whether it's a Muslim school, LG, all those LA schools. You know, we attended Islam Ahmadiyya Hospital there in Lagos. You know, so it's like we love one another. And the role of leadership is to enhance that bonding. So if for political reason or religious reason you are allowing killing in your region, so be it. You will not be in that office forever.
So what's the way forward?
The way forward is to unite the people, repent, engage the resources of this country to develop this country. And sadly enough, some of them are wasting our resources. And they use these things as distraction to cover up. Can they account for all the money we have made in NNPC? All the trillions we spend on subsidies? How can we have crude oil, have 4 refineries, and yet export crude oil to other countries, refine them, bring back to Nigeria and sell to Nigerians on premium, increasing tax almost every time? Now it's a stamp duty on tenancy agreement and things like that. You see, so you need to make the people rejoice in the land, and that is when God can approve of your leadership.
But don't you think the military also have a bigger role to play in the issue of solution in this, because they always seem to be missing in action? They always come down after these people have perpetrated their evil.
Constitutionally, man, the military has no role in internal security. It should be the reserve of the police.
So that's
another agency.
So that's an error already.
Exactly.
Okay.
So it may be a special design. And let me warn politicians. I've said it. Our democracy has been highly militarized. And if you don't rise up now, make laws, engage your office to rescue this nation, you may not even be relevant as politicians as we go forward. And make reference to the elections in Port Harcourt, in Rivers State. You saw it. In Ondo State also, all the dancing they are dancing around. And if you look historically, the political transition of Nigeria, you will see the role military has played, whether in uniform or transforming their uniform to Babariga and what do you call it, and democracy dress. So we need good governance. We need good governance in this land. We need a secured future. As some of us know, that by year 2050, now we are 200 million. And you can imagine that in 25 years' time or so, what would be the population of this country? So how are we going to cope at that time? If what we have is a season of bandits and criminals being groomed. And do you know right now, and I have raised my voice on that, the prominent Nigerians who are wealthy, who may be interested in investing in this country, are migrating their families and investments offshore, out of this country, and we are bringing criminals into our country. May God deliver my wonderful country, and that is why God raises leaders.
All right. Since 1999, during the administration of the former president, Olusegun Obasanjo, there was a serious crisis in southern Kaduna too. And when the president got there, he actually wept, and to show you how deeply touched he was. And several other presidents, even President Muhammadu Buhari, has had to witness the kind of criminal activities happening in the southern Kaduna. And they keep talking about it. I mean, these are people that have been military heads before. And you wonder why they are so helpless in this situation.
Where there is a will, there is a way. We don't have all the time to begin to discuss the different factions in Islam and things like that. But how did the government deal with the Shiite movement? I will leave that question to Nigerians. When this government is ready to stop the mill of insecurity from rolling in this country, it should be done. Let me ask a simple question. God forbid, I'm not praying for it. These Boko Haram and bandits and Islamic State of as crazy as they are, if they go and bomb a toilet in Aso Villa, you won't hear about them again in 1 month. Maybe it's because the vulnerables are the victims. Let it happen.
Can you repeat what you have just said?
If these, all of them, bandits or Islamic State of West Africa, Boko Haram, insurgents, whatever, and they group and go and bomb a toilet in Aso Villa, in 1 month, you won't hear quick about them again.
Because
if the people
what should be done will be done.
Exactly. What happened to Nnamdi Kanu? Or is this not Nigeria? I mean, some of us are so, we love this country so much. Let me ask you a simple question. There was an accused top flight kidnapper that was arrested by trained policemen, and they were accosted by soldiers who killed the policemen and released the accused kidnapper. Now the matter is going, the Attorney General is saying, and they cannot bring them to court because of martial law and things like that. But let me ask you a simple question. If a pickpocket steals the phone of a commissioner in Oshodi, what will happen? Within a month, that boy is in jail, and we say there is justice. No, I take exception to that.
All right.
Now we are setting up a panel to act on the embezzlement in NDDC.
Yeah,
Will you set up a panel?
He's still taking your job.
Will you set up a panel?
I guess he's taking your job.
Yeah. All right, that's where, okay, that's where we are going. The issue of the NDDC probe. They're talking about the agency being reverted to the presidency. We've seen all the drama, the scene 1 part 1 and the scene 2 part 2. There's so much been going on. But the question is, should this agency be reverted to presidency? Will it help it to be more what's the word? Accountable and transparent?
Okay, let's take it historical. If you go into history, NDDC was established in the year 2000 during the regime of Chief Olusegun Obasanjo, and as a commission to bring development into the oil-rich region. And in 2008, President Umaru Yar'Adua late transformed it into a ministry. That's why we are even talking about minister now, all right, of the Niger Delta, and brought NDDC as a parastatal under that ministry. And the agenda was to train the youth, bring development to that region, and many other terms of reference. And resources have been released for that purpose. And if those resources have been gainfully engaged with accountability, by now the Niger Delta should be the Dubai city of Nigeria. But unfortunately, even though those resources have been released to indigents, here we are today, poverty is still a strong feature in the Niger Delta. Now, on whether it should be so, it should not be. Again, we go back to the government. If you look at section 15, subsection 5 of the Nigerian Constitution 1999 as amended, it says that the state shall abolish corruption and abuse of office. So the state has a responsibility, and in project management, you need to follow the project to completion. So how do we just release resources and people just do anything they like with the resources? So we have a systemic problem. I've been asking that question. You all have your roles to play. Even in a Danfo bus in Lagos, the driver is to drive, the conductor is to collect money, and after the conductor collects money, driver say, yeah, when they get to the bus stop destination, they don't look back, which means how much have you collected? Give me my money. By evening, you get.
It doesn't wait till the end of the day.
Exactly.
Collect all the.
So if the driver says, okay, I will wait for 5 days before I collect money from conductor, that conductor would have gone with another driver because the conductor is a, so it's as if perhaps because of the expensive political system we have, that we are condoning corruption, and some of us are afraid that the corruption that may come out of this regime may be so mind-boggling that we may fail to see corruption in previous regimes. That is the case, and I am still asking, what have we done with the Federal Ministry of Petroleum Resources? What has the country benefited? There is a fresh news now of stolen oil in 2015 that was taken to China. It was a big deal. It's coming out now because these things cannot be covered forever. And now Akpabio has come out, and the acting MD who was acting,
who was acting,
come out and say, okay,
or acting MD acting.
Yes, you are prominent. That you also got the contract, and names have been rolled out. But my question now is, after all the names, what happens? Will they be prosecuted? Dasuki mentioned several names of kings, names of pastors, names of politicians, names of different kinds of people. What has happened to them? You see, Ikoyi Gate, where are the Okes or the Okes?
Our sector probe.
The whistle blowing, what have we done with whistle blowing? At the time somebody came out to say about 12 something billion dollars into the power sector. What have we done? At the time the first lady came out to shout that about $16 million was spent on mosquito nets, that the money was enough to fumigate Nigeria. Where are those who spend the money? So I think we have just found ourselves in the hands of some party. Give us prepared better.
Would you also give credit before the main issue is, should the NED, the intervention agency, be reverted to the president? But again, won't you give credit to this administration? At least in the past, we probably would never have heard of this mind-boggling corruption taking place in this agency. Now, at least we are entertained with the figures. We heard the figures. We may not be able to get to the end of it. But wouldn't you give credit to this administration for actually, allowing or ordering a forensic audit since 2000 I just mentioned? No audit of the agency has taken place.
I give credit.
Fine. Wouldn't you start from there?
I give credit, but beyond the credit, sir, and this is personal, I own it. I think I want to advise Nigerians, and we just need to speak the truth. Sometimes these things are allowed purposely to destabilize your electoral processes and political processes, so that when you begin to say you want to feature a candidate, they bring out the dossier. The same Magu that the 8th National Assembly could not kick back within 2 months is out of office. So, and that is why many Nigerians say some of these things are politically motivated. If it is about serious accountability, by now we should have expanded the capacity of our prisons. I think the Prime Minister of the UK, when he was saying the president of the fantastically corrupt nation is here, and it leaked, they were saying that if the corruption that has happened in Nigeria happened in the UK would have collapsed. The region that colonized us.
So
I don't think we have seen the impact of corruption, or we are not reacting appropriately. Till we speak now, what is the state of our affairs?
Are you saying we haven't seen the impact of the corruption? Palliatives, while other nations of the world are actually taking care of their citizens, we could not afford to keep our citizens indoors. We were forced to open our doors to allow them to get back to work, despite the fact that it was dangerous.
You know, what I mean by
there was nothing to sustain our people.
And that is exactly what I mean. When you see the impact of something, you correct it. By now, the first attempt at electricity in Nigeria was around 1896. Over 100 years after, we have about 21 and 24 years or thereabout after, we have not succeeded in having consistent power supply. So, and that's why I'm concerned that what exactly is wrong with us. And we have these resources. I have said it.
So would there be, can we say, reverting it to the presidency would actually bring a fresh hope, something? That intervention.
I will answer that question with an answer I gave earlier the summit also. Chief Olusegun Obasanjo was amazed by what Lee Kuan Yew did in Singapore, transforming that poor region to a first world. And he said, Lee, what did you do? And Lee said, we decided to do the right thing and will continue to do the right thing. And today, Singapore is one of the best places to live and work in the world. So we must decide as a people to start doing the right thing. And what is the right thing? Care for the people. Engage the resources with the fear of God and with the interest of the people. Drop your greed. You don't need all the billions you are stealing. Many at the Abacha route, we are still recovering it. So what percentage of it did Abacha enjoy? So develop this country. People like the National Assembly going around with mobile policemen and siren and jeep and everything making us. Are you not coming out of that National Assembly? So when you come out, where will you have money to keep that retinue of security? Why can't we have security for everybody? Why can't we have infrastructure? Why can't we have good education system? Why can't we have prosperity in the land? Everybody may not prosper at the same level, but at least let there be peace. And if you don't make sure the environment is okay, you come back to that same environment that is dangerous. So how do you want to live?
All right, so in other words, you're saying that reverting it to presidency will still be the same as usual.
You can imagine that we have true federalism, and the likes of these guys that are fainting in the National Assembly is the governor or the deputy governor or the chief accounting officer in that Niger Delta region. What will happen to the money? The virus has gone around. So it's now for us to collectively decide that, okay, how far have we gone with this bad way of governance, and decide that let's make a U-turn and begin to do the right thing.
Okay, so in conclusion, what should be the role of Nigerians in all this? Because
the role
we keep
of
complaining and talking.
That is what we can do.
That...
If I ask you now, if I ask you, sir, that next week Monday we are protesting, I won't see you. Showore spoke and the guy was bundled by DSS, and Nigerians started to criticize. So when Nigerians are probably tired, they will mobilize. They mobilized during the COVID-19 without anybody mobilizing them. But the government quickly stepped in to diffuse that force that was moving on. But I'm saying finally to the government, please, Mr. Government, if there is a name like that, you are radicalizing Nigeria. The hardship is too much. Increase in this, increase in that, and the hardship is too much. So you may need to de-radicalize Nigerians by beginning to provide basic amenities, by leaving our resources for us, use it for us. Let's benefit from this land. Let's benefit. We have just this country.
Yes, so okay, I'm willing to benefit from the resources of this country.
I'm a bona fide Nigerian
I'm waiting to be de-radicalized too. So that's we need to
benefit.
sincerely thank you for your time, sir, for
Thank
the
you,
views
sir.
I've actually expressed on the program. Thank you so much. My name is Banji Busari. See you on Wednesday.
Bye-bye, I am Jumoke Michael. See you again.